That's all right. I already have a couple of people that wanted at least work with some video. I mean, most of it's more to generate some promotional interest than anything,
Yes.
but I need that. So, and photos I can already advertise easily enough. I mean, I've got a portfolio up. I've got, every time anybody sees it, they talk about how great it is. I even had 3 people come up to me over the weekend because they randomly found it on social media since I've been active on those profiles again, and commenting about how good everything was. So it's
Nice.
that's an easy.
That's good.
That's always an easy fallback, and I can always make a few hundred as long as I get some referrals.
That's nice. Do some weddings.
I mean, if I have to, I'll do a wedding package, but
No,
I charge astronomical wedding fees.
What do you charge for weddings? What's your intro package on a wedding? I'm curious now.
The minimum I will do if it's just portraits and ceremony. This is not with the reception. If you want the reception, I charge extra. So up through the wedding, so portraits and wedding, it's a minimum.
So is this also like pre-wedding?
Yes.
Photo. Okay.
Yeah. So minimum of 2,500, and I'm only there for an hour and a half to 2 hours before the wedding, and up to an hour after the wedding.
And then what do you do for?
If you actually want a proper wedding package, your minimum outlay is going to be $8,000.
Okay, I was thinking 5, but woo.
Yeah, I make it expensive for the whole thing, and
because you hate it.
Well, it's because people
not hate it,
drag
but
out
it's not your favorite.
Well, people drag out
they
receptions. It's one of those things where if they have a time boxed thing where it's like, we have the ceremony here and we have to be done and out of the venue by 9. All right, I'll cut you a deal because I know you're not going to drag out and be a midnight leaving some place. That's the part that always irritated the crap out of me. That and dealing with certain people who wanted to tell you how to do your job.
Oh God, yeah. I'm curious. I'll come back to this question, but keep going. I got a question.
That was the end of that statement. But
okay. Well, I was going to say, who's been the? Now I want to know who's been the worst.
I don't know if.
What's the worst, or the most memorable worst?
Well, the most obnoxious one that I remember having was a bride whose mom wanted to dictate everything, but the bride had different requests, and the client's the bride, not the bride's mom. And dealing with that is just frustrating.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's the bride's parents are probably paying for it, but the bride is the client.
Well, and whoever signs the contract is who my client is, regardless of who's footing the bill, and that made it a little more difficult because the bride was the client. The parents were just paying the invoice. Well,
yeah, that's often. I think that's often how it how they roll with it, and that
Yeah, I changed.
The bride's the client for most. Yeah, go ahead.
I changed my verbiage and how I presented weddings after that, and things got a little bit better. It was whoever is paying is going to be the client, needs to sign the contract, and I'm going to have to do what they do, like just as a part of the upfront conversation. And so most of the time that meant the bride would say, "No problem, I'll get the money and I'll give you the check." That negates
let's just like clear things up. So let's make things a little. I get that. That's good learning. That was obviously a lesson learned. So what's an example of what made the bride's mom so obnoxious? I'm curious.
She thought she was a photographer and kept wanting to come over and tell me where to stand to take a shot or how to frame a shot, and just those are the kinds of things.
Go enjoy your child's wedding. Yeah.
Like if you have an idea for a photo and you want to talk about it prior, I'm fine with that. But also as part of when I offer photographic services for anything, as a part of the initial conversation, I make it a point to do a spiel about, look, the way you should look for a photographer is not based on referral or how you like me or anything else. You should look at my pictures and see if it's a style you like. And if it is, then you don't have anything to worry about. You can just let me take photos. And if you have a specific photo you want, like you and a person or something like that, let me know those things. And then that really helps set the stage for how everything's going to be, unless you have, a family member or somebody that is trying to interject themselves, like you can potentially have at weddings, because you have just such a wide variety of people involved. Most of the time with other events, people don't care as much. I don't know if it's just because they don't, I don't know. I think everybody kind of thinks they know what they want to do at a wedding, and then they don't really know.
I think, well, I think there's weddings in general are just, how can I say this?
Overly commercialized events.
Well, the movie, the movie Father of the Bride.
Yes,
where he's like, it's like going to the church and they say I do, and like that's getting married. A wedding is a whole other thing. Weddings are ridiculously, they're so expensive, and people that the only typically I want to say, like, a lot of times the thing that people buy that's more expensive than weddings, well, with the way cars are going, maybe cars, but it's usually just houses,
yeah,
and it's just when people that amount of money, whether people are, I think most people are not consciously thinking, but it's the amount of money is a representation of work and time, and they want it to be perfect, and so they forget that you just paid a professional to do it the right way, not, so.
Yeah, what I try to do now is kind of like what I did with Brad and Sonia, where I'll do a wedding photo shoot for you, but I don't want to do the wedding. And I will happily give you referrals for the wedding itself. Like, for that, you really want an event-style photographer.
Yeah, that's actually a really good thing, I think.
And because most people, like, wedding photo shoots, I think people think about engagement shoots and they think that's the thing, right? But
yeah.
If you, instead of thinking about it that way, if you want an engagement shoot, by all means do an engagement shoot. I'll do that too, no problem. But if you do a wedding photo shoot, you can be so much more creative and intimate with it that I think it's an overlooked market if you really want to push it. And the big thing for me is I don't want to push it. Like, I tend to have that conversation when I have a feeling that I don't really want to do a specific wedding, but I don't mind talking to them about other options.
Yeah, I think that's actually a cool idea.
Well, and most people really don't care as much about the wedding itself after the fact anyway. Like, it's great to think of, you want to document the idea. How many times do people go back and look at wedding photos of the dance or the ceremony or anything else? They look at the portraits, maybe a handful of other creative shots, and that's about it.
See, I'm the wrong person to ask anything about that. I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask because, like, I go back and look at all of my photos often.
I mean, I'm the perfect example because I'm a photographer. I have all of my wedding photos. There are about a dozen that I actually look at it on a recurring basis. I don't care about the getting ready photos. I don't care about the first dance photos. I don't care about random people throughout the event photos. I care about the like when we first saw each other and some of the stuff that we did before the wedding with regard to just pictures of the two of us. And that's really all I care to look at. I mean, I'll thumb through the other ones, sure, because I'm already looking in that timeline, but I don't go searching for them.
No, and there's only, like you to your point, that's, there's like a dozen photos that you're ever going to get printed.
Yeah.
And the rest are, there'll be somewhere for you to look at if you want to, if you do. So, yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
But with Brad and Sonia, actually, I enjoyed doing that one because it was just it turned out to basically just be what you would consider a typical photo shoot. And then I gave them, I think it was printed on metal. One of the pictures they really liked, printed it on a metal plate. Got it printed on a metal plate and gave it to them.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. How much do you charge for a photo shoot like that?
So I vary my prices a little bit.
Not specifically them, but
yeah, I vary my prices a little bit depending on what it is. So if you have a very clear idea of what you want, my rate for a shoot is $250 for a minimum of an hour. Well, I bill by the hour, minimum 1 hour billing. I'll put it that way. If you end up wanting to take 30 minutes, and I mean, that's on you, but I'm there for
it's
the
still
hour.
An hour.
Yeah. But I do $250 for a shoot, just general. If you are unsure of time, but you don't expect it to be more than an hour and a half, 2 hours, I typically will cut a break on that because there's normally some fixing of hair or adjustments or changing locations. There's other stuff that goes into it, and so normally I'll round to about $350 for up to a couple of hours ish. Just depending on what it is. And then if you really don't know and you just want to go through a bunch of stuff and we're going to bill by the hour, no big deal. It doesn't hurt me to bill by the hour.
Okay. Yeah. That's a really cool, kind of thing to do. I think, I think honestly, that's probably a better idea. I mean, you could do it all. I mean, you could do it, we'll do a photo shoot. We'll do a wedding day shoot. We'll do everything. So, but no, to me, I think that's, I'd pick a photo shoot over like wedding day pictures. I mean, it's nice to have wedding day pictures, but I'd pick a photo shoot over that. That's going to be so many, because you're out there intending to do pictures only, and nobody's waiting on you. Nobody, there's no ceremony. There's no, I'm sure you get the potential for getting much better pictures is much higher.
Absolutely. People always look more relaxed. They're more jovial. They're not thinking about everything else they have to get done. It's same reason anybody likes to do just a photo shoot in general. I want pictures and I want them to look good.
Yeah. I felt like there was something else I was going to ask you about that. Oh yeah. I was going to make a comment. I remember the first time I got married, the only request I had from my photographer is that they had a filter, the star filter, when it makes the light look like a star. I was like, I just want a few pictures like that. And the photographer did not have that filter, but bought it for our photo shoot or for our that wedding.
I mean, filters aren't pictures. Yeah, filters aren't too expensive, so it'd be the kind of thing I would do. They're not
expensive.
As well.
There's like what, $50-$60,
if that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you. Now that we're talking about that, have you spoken to people about what they do with their? Let's say they've gotten divorced and what they do with their old wedding pictures. Has that ever been a topic of conversation?
Not really. Most people, I assume, treat them like any other old pictures. Either it's very emotional and they just want to get rid of all of them, or they're sentimental types that just put them in a box.
I once read somewhere that it's somebody who was writing. It's like, it's not a bad idea to keep them, and then you can like show them to your kid. Your kids can have them or something, and be like, yeah, at one point your parents were, they liked each other.
Yeah, I can see where if it's a relationship where you had kids, that could be useful.
Yeah.
I know there are still some pictures somewhere around here that are from my first wedding. We didn't have a photographer, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember us hiring one. And we didn't really care either way. I had some video at one point because I did have a friend record it. I don't know where that went, and I have no reason to go looking for it. But that's the only thing I remember doing. And that was because I had video equipment at the time because I was dabbling with it. So.
Yeah. No surprises here. So I was looking at YouTube, and there's a channel I started following, I think sometime last year. It was definitely not before last year. And it was definitely not this year, so it was last year.
Fairly easy to roll out this year still at the moment.
Yeah, right. But it reminded me of like some stuff that we had talked about. I'm really curious about them. It's I don't quite know who's who, or it's not entirely clear to me. Like I could guess who the owner operator of the channel is, but I'm not totally sure. But it's there's some folks, and they make overlanding videos, and the production quality is incredibly high. It's to the point where they actually have Toyota is one of their sponsors, and I don't know if they buy Toyota vehicles or Toyota has provided them with vehicles, but on their trips they're using all Toyota vehicles, and they've gone to Alaska. South, they've driven from they've driven from the north part of South America to the southern, one of the southernmost parts of Argentina. They did a Scandinavian trip, and they've released a trailer for an Africa trip. And so it's like, these are pretty big trips, and they're gone for each one's like a few months, a couple of months. I've watched the Scandinavia one. I haven't watched. I started watching the Alaska one, and when they were in, they went I think they went Sweden, Norway, Faroe Islands, and ended in Iceland. I think it was a total of 2 months. Anyway, the production quality is very good, very high. But it just sort of reminded me of like some of the stuff that you and I have talked about in a much smaller context.
It's funny. One of the things that stopped me from really gaining a lot of traction last year was because I knew I could do much better production quality than what I had available to me, as far as like locations or et cetera, et cetera. Like there's so much stuff that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the locations necessary to make it look as good as I could make it. That stopped me instead of accepting that good enough is still good enough to get started.
So basically,
I talked myself out of it because it wasn't the perfect thing I had that I knew I could execute on, because I know I can execute on it, instead of just saying, you know what, this is what I have available to me now. I can make it as good as I can make it and just get it out there and get started.
Yeah. Because, I mean, let's be honest. The whole East Coast looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And, who wants to look at the East Coast?
I mean, there are a couple of places on the East Coast that I suppose are worth.
No. There's a lot. There's a lot of beautiful places on the East Coast, and I'm sure like if you're from California and you come over to the East Coast and everything looks so frickin' green to you, I'm sure that's a huge novelty. But again, the most of the the majority of the United States population is on the East Coast, and everywhere looks about the same. I went to Columbus once. I was like, it looks like Birmingham.
Yeah,
it's. I've been on a hiking trail in Chehaw Wilderness, and it looked exactly like a hiking trail that I saw on the AT on a video of the AT in Pennsylvania. Whereas, well, I think so. The thing about it is, the East Coast is not exotic. Like it's beautiful, but it's not exotic. You go, Utah. There's nothing, Utah looks like Utah, and there's nowhere else that looks like Utah. Arizona looks like Arizona, and nothing else looks like that. Montana looks like Montana, and nothing else looks like that. California, don't even get me started. Hawaii, even though Hawaii is like, not that big, it's still far more exotic than anywhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe the Florida Keys would be about the closest. And even that just looks like anything else in the Caribbean.
Yeah. I would say even the Caribbean, depending on where you are in the Caribbean, there are far more exotic locations in the Caribbean. Like St. Lucia is way more exotic than anything in the Florida Keys.
Yeah, true.
That's not to say that the Florida Keys aren't beautiful and I wouldn't love to go there and enjoy some sunshine and swimming around. But, there aren't two mountains there are no mountains. I mean, the highest point in the state of Florida is under 900 feet above sea level. So,
and probably shrinking as the oceans rise.
Right. So, yeah. It's shrinking, and with those hot tub waters. Those hot tub temperature waters. Jeez.
Speaking of Florida, I didn't realize Panama City got hit all that hard until I guess it was mid-morning. Like it didn't register that the tornadoes that they experienced overnight.
I'm just now finding out from you saying this. I didn't know that they were hit at all. I didn't know that this weather system that came through that we saw yesterday was affecting that far south.
Yeah, there was 1 or 2 confirmed tornadoes in or around Mobile, and Panama City Beach had a tornado.
Interesting, because it's usually hurricanes.
Yeah. I do not recall the last time I heard of a tornado hitting anywhere in Florida. And I'm sure it's not that rare, but it's not something that's typically in my mind.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. So,
the only reason I even found out about it is because I follow Span on Instagram, and so I ended up seeing some pictures that he reposted.
I used to follow him on Instagram, but I don't remember why. I don't even remember why I stopped.
He posts a lot. It can get.
He does post a lot.
It can get to be where you get tired of it. If I were trying to actually constantly scroll social media, I probably wouldn't follow him. But since I just scroll in spurts every once in a while.
Yeah.
We have plenty I can pull from for a pre-flight there. Did you have anything specific you wanted to talk about, or do I need to figure out how to edit that into a show? And of course, we'll continue. But
I think I got burnt out on our Red Letter series.
Well, it's kind of tough to keep on when realistically it all boils down to the same message.
Well, I was also going to say I think it also demonstrated the point that we wanted to demonstrate.
Yeah,
I think we did get that out of that. So
I think what I might want to do is just do a follow-up 1 or 2 of those sometime in the semi-near future, just to round out if there's a specific section that we want to call attention to.
I'm good with that.
I think that's a good way to close it instead of doing it, chapter by chapter.
Instead of instead of sending it to Mandyville.
Yeah. Yeah, that way there's at least something that feels like closure to it. Then again, I don't remember if there was anything that actually said how far we were going to go anyway.
No, we never specified.
But still, I do like the idea of maybe picking 1 or 2 specific things to emphasize out of just a couple of different chapters, just to make it look like there was an attempt at
closing it.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, was there anything that you wanted to talk about? I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, I have too. Not specifically. I've been trying to kind of pay attention to 2 things in relative recent time. One, just whether or not there's any type of criminal indictment, or if anything goes the way I want it to go.
Oh yeah,
with all those.
We're absolutely going to talk about that.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to talk about it now. It's just I've been paying attention to that. The other thing I've been paying attention to is Taylor Tomlinson is going to be hosting After Midnight after the Colbert Show, and that comes up next week for the first episode.
Yes, and I already have it set to record.
I need to do that, actually. But this evening, before we recorded, I watched last night's Colbert Show, or late night. It's the Late Show.
Was that the first
show?
Yes.
I've
the
seen
Tonight Show is Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I've seen him on so many different shows. I keep wanting to just say the Colbert Show, but that's not what it is.
Was that his longest running show at this point?
I think...
I have the power of the internet at my fingertips. I will find out.
I think now the Late Show is the longest running that he's done. Maybe not, but I think so. I think he's been the host of the Late Show longer than any of the other stuff. But anyway, what I was saying is I watched the episode that he had her on as a guest before we recorded, and that was a great episode.
So one of the things. Okay. So real time follow up. This year he will match the Colbert Report.
Okay.
With how long? Well, let me. I'm just looking at the numbers because he did the Colbert Report from 2005 to 2014. So and then took over the Late Show, and so that's also 9 years. So he started the Late Show his first broadcast was January 12th. Wait, no, am I misreading this? what's his first? Oh no, he didn't. His first night of doing the Late Show was September 8th, 2015. So he's been going roughly 8 years and change. And then he was on the Colbert Report from October of 2005 until December of 2014. So just over 9 years. So this year he will overtake, unless something terrible happens, he'll overtake the Colbert Report. So just barely.
Okay.
And he was on the Daily Show as a correspondent from 97 to 2005. So, do you remember that Steve Carell was also on that?
I do.
On the Daily Show, and they had they did Even Stevens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Late Show where you had Taylor Tomlinson on?
I watched the opening monologue. So I watched the opening monologue on YouTube, and I realized that I wasn't recording the Late Show, and I have corrected that because like sometimes I do want to go beyond the opening monologue. And I honestly started listening to the opening monologue a lot more because I know that you do, and you've talked about it, and it's just so fantastic. It's such a good.
So I also watch the snippets when they post to YouTube. I don't record it. And so before we recorded, I watched, or Emily and I both watched the two clips, which would have been the interview segments in between commercial breaks, where he had Tomlinson on. And one of the things that was interesting is she did a preview of one of the games like they would have, and whether something was ick or not ick. And I wasn't entirely sure what the context would be, but it was hilarious that she asked Stephen whether he knew what ick was. And he said the ick that he knew of was the thing that fish can get in a freshwater tank, right? Which is an accurate thing. You can get this fungus called ick. And
that's probably where it came from.
Probably. And so she explained that it was, instant turnoff kind of thing. And it's, I liked her statement that typically it's the women that have it because they have standards.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But they gave 4 examples, and he got all 4 wrong. And I mean, the whole segment was great, but the last example was obviously tailored for, no pun intended, tailored for the show because it was knowing too much about Lord of the Rings. And and Colbert
nice.
said based on his high school and everything else, he was going to go with, or experiences, and all, he was going to go with ick. And the answer was no ick, because they make great producers and make wonderful decisions hiring people, that kind of thing. It was a good segment. But I enjoy,
check that out.
If that's anything like how her show is going to end up playing out, it's going to be a great show to watch.
Oh yeah, I think so. I got to see her live once. I got really into. I mean, I never disliked stand-up comedy, and every time I ended up at in a stand-up comedy show, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoy improv. Improv is fantastic, and I saw her the last time she was in Birmingham, and it was good, and I could tell she was, it seemed like she was holding back because she's in the South, but I look forward to watching her show. I think it'll be good. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after-show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.